Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Elevate Your Life podcast. My name is Paul Croto, and I'm here with Cheryl Morley.
Hi there. Super excited to be here today, like I always am, Paul.
Listen, being excited is the key to everything. So it's the number one emotion to have. So don't apologize for being excited all the time, Cheryl. It's what we need more of that in life.
All right. Well, that's not hard for me. So I can be as excited enough for all of us.
Very cool. Well, a reason to be excited is because we're doing episode 63 today of our Elevate Your Life podcast. And on Tuesdays here, we specialize and focus on elevating your mindset. So we're getting your mind wrapped around building a business and promoting your business. So today's topic is, so we're continuing our series here on how to market online. We're on lesson number 5 today. How to tell your story and how to tell it effectively so that you can move people and have people follow you. So Cheryl, I know you're all about the story. You know, everyone's got a story, and I'm like, well, does everyone have a good story though? You know, so we've been going back and forth on this a little bit, but talk to us about stories. And I know you're working with a story specialist. You got a book coming out soon about stories. So I know you're Miss Story over there.
Yeah, I love it. You know what? I think that we always have I always remember this saying from way back in the day, stories sell, facts. So facts tell, stories sell, right? And that's always interesting to me. And look, I love stories. I love them. I have my son, that's the only way he likes to learn.
Well, everyone loves stories. Who doesn't love a good story?
Right. Who doesn't love a good story? I love a good story. And I love today that we're going to go over like the correct way to tell a story so that it has the most meaning and the most impact for the people that you're working with. So I love the setup, I guess, of the story.
Yeah. Yes. One thing we want to point out before we get started here is that, of course, there's one story of your life. And Cheryl, got a book coming out with a story of her life. And it depends on who she's talking to, right, is how she tells the story. Not that you're lying at all. It's the same story, but you're speaking differently. If you're speaking to someone who's 20 or someone who's 50, the way you tell the story becomes different. Absolutely.
And the story isn't different, but just the way you tell it, and you might pick up like a little nugget here, a little nugget there inside the story as you're talking to that person, like you're saying, depending on the age. Not only that, Paul, I like that you said there's one big story of your life, but there's also like thousands of little stories.
Yeah, mini stories in there.
Yeah. Inside like your big story. Because yes, I do have one book coming out that will be the story of my life. But then I have another book coming out with a whole group of girls called Elevate Your Voice, if you can believe that. That's so cool. But that is just one
copying
little
off of us. That's all.
Yeah. That's just one little story in the big story. So that's really cool too, that there's all different ways and things and different things that you can pull out of your life to help and train others, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just want to point that out to everybody before we get into the meat of today's podcast, which there's some questions. Before you tell your story, you need to ask us a couple questions. So the first question you got to ask is, what are the pain points of the person I'm talking to? So, that's really when I say you tell the story a certain way when you're talking to 20-year-olds and a certain way you tell the story when you're talking to 50-year-olds, it's only because their pain points are different. The things that are in their life that's causing problems are different. So you're picking out things in your life that would match that group of people better than those other stories you just told.
Well, and I also think that it has to do with what's important in their life at that time, right?
Relevant,
right? Because that is going to be another big part of it. Knowing how to speak to that person at that time in their life, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the notes below, we put a little chart, and you just click on the link below if you want to see these notes. So there's a different generation. So one of the things we talked about in the last 3-4 classes was about identifying your avatar, your ideal person that you're going after. And Cheryl and I have been really marketing towards people in Gen X, 42 to 57. that's where we are. So of course, that's the natural thing to market to.
Right.
But now what we're doing is we're getting more and more involved in millennials. So Cheryl and I were both millennial. Well, we were both between 26. We were both 26 or younger when we, when did you meet Dr. Wallach? What age was that?
25, 24,
Yeah.
25.
Yeah. So we were both, in our early 20s when we started building our own business and became self-employed.
Which, let me say, Paul, it is the best time to start. Hands down.
Yeah. I mean,
the best time to start.
The best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago. The second best time is today. But
Right.
So I'm just glad we planted ours 25 years ago. I wouldn't want to be starting today, but we're helping people who are starting today.
All you young kids, this is the time to do it. Don't wait.
Yeah.
If I would have waited, oh my gosh, Paul, can you imagine?
No.
Let's
not go there.
Sorry, I kind of got off on a tangent there.
All right. So Cheryl and I did some research. So we're getting into that. We want to start marketing towards millennials. Okay. They're again 26 to 41. Whole different advertising campaign, whole different world, whole different everything. You cannot use the same thing on Gen X that you can use on millennials. It just will never work.
Right.
So we're coming up with new marketing, new material, new things that are geared towards millennials. So the first thing you need to do, whatever group you're picking for, maybe you're picking baby boomers or whatever group you want to go after, generation, I should say, you're going after, you need to know their pain points. And to find the pain points, you can go online. There's like tons and tons of research done on all these different groups of people. They spend millions of dollars doing this research. You can go find it in like 2 seconds. I pulled up this one article about the pain points of millennials, what these kids between 26 to 41 are experiencing right now. So they have the first one was like, I'm like, I can't really understand why this is a problem because they're all graduated from, just about all of them graduate from college.
And apparently, it's good.
How is that a pain point?
Yeah, well, it's good to do that, but it's fascinating to me. First of all, Paul, this all looks bad. It all is not good. Like everything I'm seeing is amazing.
Yeah. So when I graduated from college back in 97, it was something special. If there's 5 people applying for a job, I was the only one that had a college degree. So I got the job.
Right.
But these days, all 5 got a college degree. So you have no leg up on anybody because you're all the same. So that's why the next one is true, where that 40% of our nation's unemployed are millennials. It's the largest group of unemployed people are millennials.
But Paul, that's the prime age. I'm like, what are you talking about? That is the prime age when it used to be that's what you would do. You would go to work. You had a family. You would go to work. You would,
exactly.
Everything was kind of laid out for you. And that is just not the way it is anymore.
Yeah. My goal, and I know your goal too, is be retired by 41. I don't want to spend my, my 40s working. So, so rattle off some of these other, just real quick, Cheryl, some of these pain points that millennials are facing.
Okay. So Americans between 18 and 34 are earning less today than the same group did in the past. So they're earning less than we did. Wow.
Yeah. Yikes. So knowing all these facts is going to help you towards your marketing. And when you're talking to these people, what version of your story you're going to be using and what things you should pick out from your life and from your story that you want to include when you're talking to this group of people. What are some other ones, Cheryl?
Millennials are reporting the highest levels of stress and depression than any other generation at the same age.
Yeah.
Then the next one is, it's all bad. College debt. So they were told, go out and get a degree. Yeah. And now what do they have?
Now they got debt.
And now they have debt because they can't even get a job.
Yeah.
Because of, oh my gosh. Okay. It's becoming more common for millennials to live at home. Okay. So they're still living with their parents or starting to again.
Yeah. Over 20% right now of kids graduate from college go back to live at home.
Okay, millennials experience greater difficulty in securing a job that utilizes their degree than those of a similar age a decade ago. So, and I see that, Paul, a lot. I see if people do have a job, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their college degree.
Absolutely. But, my point to that is I've talked to a lot of millennials, and I ask, oh, what did you go to college for? What are you going to college for? And they like, well, political science. Like, well, what do you exactly want to do in your life? Political, criminal justice, or I don't know, whatever they pick these things that sound great, a biologist or whatever. Like, okay, but what in the real world are you going to do with that? Oh, I don't know.
All of those sound like there might be a little something. How about one of my favorite things is like the arts.
Oh yeah.
Well, what? I mean, I always go, oh, okay. And I'm sure that there are some great jobs for that, but there's not that many.
No.
There's not, it seems to be like not that many. So, okay, let's keep going, Paul. This makes me kind of like heartsick for, these young kids, right? Okay. Millennials are less likely to be homeowners than young adults in previous generations.
Sure. I mean, you're 26, you're buying a house. I mean, in the past.
Oh, absolutely. So the key to success in business is to find a problem and provide a solution. Paul, we say this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is like one of the main things that we talk about. So we find a problem, and Paul, that seemed like a lot. Now let's talk about a few more here.
Yeah.
Millennials are financially fragile.
I love this one.
That. Yeah, 63% of millennials would have difficulty covering an unexpected $500 expense. Now, can I say, Paul, that that's a problem, especially right now, since inflation is getting out of hand here.
A little high, yeah.
Yeah. Only 6% of millennials feel they are making a lot more than required to cover basic needs. For millennial women, the figure is only 3%. Okay, that breaks my heart. It's so bad, right? 44% would dedicate $5,000 in lottery winnings to pay off bills and loans, signaling a struggle to launch, save, and invest.
Where their focus is at,
Yeah. Wow. So fewer and fewer millennials are becoming entrepreneurs. Okay, well, that's bad.
Yeah.
How on earth can that be the case? You need to be one. We need more.
Read this. I'm glad you're sitting down. So I unfortunately stand up during these podcasts. Cheryl is sitting, so she has an advantage over me. So just read this paragraph here about the fewer and fewer millennials becoming entrepreneurs, because this is the most disturbing thing to me.
Okay, the U.S. Small Business Administration report indicates that entrepreneurship is lower among millennials than among prior generations. In 2014, less than 2% of millennials reported self-employment, compared with 7.6% of Generation X and 8.3% for baby boomers. Wow.
Yeah.
Similarly, the Kauffman Foundation implies that millennials aged 20 to 34 represent about 23% of new entrepreneurs in 2013, which is down from 35% back in 1996.
Yeah. There's just a different world out there now, and for that age group than we were experiencing. So Absolutely. It's so important to know all this information. Now we can go talk to these people between the ages of 26 and 41 and know what their problems that they're facing are.
Right. What the and boy, that's fascinating to me that that the entrepreneur level is down so much. Now okay, I just almost got off on a huge tangent. That's really fascinating to me. I mean, is it the way they were raised? Is it because of what they were taught? Right. So all of these questions are like, going through my mind. But I'll tell you, Paul, there's no time better than now to get a hold of these kids and show them like a different way or a better way, right?
Yeah. I mean, through the years, just to be honest with you, and I know you probably felt the same way, and your husband probably felt the same way, is that we were looked at like as villains almost. Like business owners are like those evil people, so I don't want to be one of those people. Owning the restaurants and owning, all the businesses that I own, I've always felt like people look at me or look at people like us as being the bad people of the world. Like,
I think they look at us like cowboys, like we're out, like we're on a brand new frontier and we're out trying to make it happen. And there's a struggle. and there's and it's hard, and they're not sure what to do, and they're not sure how to do it. Like, I think people would start their own business if in fact they felt comfortable with in knowing that someone was there to help them and to support them. I think people would do that, right? I honestly do. But now, where do you find something like that? Right?
Yeah.
Where do you
Yeah,
find
absolutely.
that answer?
Yep. And I remember talking to a couple of your neighbors, Cheryl, when I was over, and they were talking about, and they're that age,
What age?
where, selling to other people is unethical.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
So
like
they're
all kinds
older.
of things they were saying. I was like, where'd you get that from?
Right.
So it's just some stigmas that were brought up in their generation that are really bad.
And Paul, what generation is that?
That's
Is that the young
millennials.
one?
Yeah.
That's the millennials. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just interested in that. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I think
what?
Gen X, I'm going to go look up some research on that, but I think that the tide has turned with them, that they are like, oh, we're only going to be entrepreneurs now.
Really?
They're not going, they're understanding that college doesn't do anything for you. So
Well, this whole, yeah. Well,
I
think this
better invent some kind of app or some sort of whatever, so I can, and the kids these days, I mean, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, that they're just so computer savvy that they're making millions and millions of dollars and just driving around in all kinds of cars and stuff. It's crazy. So things are changing, but it's always knowing your group, who you're talking to, so you can craft your story. The second question you have to ask yourself, first was the pain point. Second one is, what do they need to know about you, Cheryl? So you're talking to them, and you're telling your story in a way that hits their pain points. That I've been through this, and this. I was when I was your age. I wasn't. I was unemployed too a bunch, and I was, this and that, and the things you can pick out from those pain points that you experienced. You could tell them those kind of stories.
Yeah, I think, Paul, the only thing I can't pick out of that, those pain points is the college debt. Because I didn't have any.
Well, there you go. See, you're a step ahead of everyone already with that.
Well, let me tell you, and I'm so blessed on my land, that would have not been good. But so like you're saying, Paul, they have to feel understood, right? They have to be able to understand you.
Right.
That's
so they feel that way, but now what do they need to know from you, Cheryl?
That I walked in their shoes, right? That I did the same things or went through the same struggles that they're having, I guess.
Right.
That's super important. And then something that's really important, which we were just kind of talking about a second ago, is that we do have a solution for them, right? Yeah. I mean, they have to feel comfortable that we can help, mentor them and lead them and guide them along their journey.
Sure. And, you can see that women 20s, 30s, even 40s that are following you, they're like, I want to be like Cheryl. I know people call you every day and, Cheryl, will you be my mentor?
Yeah.
They can see that you're the expert. They can see that you have the solutions. They can see that you walked in their shoes. You weren't like born a multimillionaire, far from it.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah. But that wasn't how it's turned out, and the women that I know you deal with and work with, they feel like you understand them.
Right.
So that you can't get better than that. So those are the things that people don't need to know about you. And then every story. So now we're getting into telling our story, actually. Every story has 4 parts to it. The first part is the challenge. So, Cheryl, when you were writing your book, you were talking about all the challenges you had. And you said you met Dr. Wallach at 26?
About 20, I think 25. Okay,
25. So, how challenging was your life from go to 25?
Well, it was, I always say nothing's as hard as growing up on the farm. So, that's kind of how.
Well, we got to have people buy the book to read the story, but I've had the privilege of hearing the whole story, and or I don't know if it's a privilege, actually, because I was just, what the, it's a must buy book. That's for sure. You got a story, and if there's a problem out there, Cheryl's been through it. Let's just put it that way. I'd rather list the problems you didn't have than the problems you did have, because it would have been a much shorter
Much shorter.
Yeah, much shorter book. But hey, the ending's phenomenal. So it isn't all bad, and they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And there's a whole bunch of sayings. And I believe that really the super successful people did have a lot of obstacles. You can see Oprah's story and so many people's stories out there that tons of challenges. But then you had a change. So what was the big change in your life at 25?
Yes, the change is when I met Dr. Wallach, and he introduced me, to getting healthy and to feeling great, and that there was a way that I could share my story, right, and help others do the same.
Yeah. So it's not just Dr. Wallach taught you nutrition, but he also taught you building a business and how to deal with people and how to run a business and how to be an entrepreneur, and
right.
Because you, up to that point, from what I know about your story, you didn't own a business. You were just working for other people.
Yeah. I just had 3 jobs.
Yeah. So the change that happens, so you got to explain, these are all the problems I had. And those problems you should do the best job you can at picking out problems they have and talking about the problems you had in the past. So those 2 things match.
Right.
And then you talk about the change that you went through, met Dr. Wallach, spent 5 years on the road, just getting like I was in Marine boot camp. You were in Marine boot camp too, from my perspective, being with Dr. Wallach. Actually, I think being in the Marines was actually easier than spending 5 years with Dr. Wallach.
Well, I know that my boot camp was much longer than yours.
Yeah, this is also true. I was in Desert Storm, but it still was not as bad as you had it with dealing with Dr. Wallach. Because he was like, listen, boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's got to be done now.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is all fantastic, right? Because that is the way you do it. That's the way you build a business. That's the way you become successful. And you had
a great work ethic already from being on the farm, but
right.
He installed a whole new level of work ethic.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. He's fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah. So then there's the celebration. So Cheryl has this amazing life now, beautiful family, 2 kids, wonderful husband, pool that's better. I used to go to the Bellagio to hang out on the weekends, but now I just go to Cheryl's pool because it's better than the Bellagio in Vegas. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And, just anything she wants in life, she's got it. And so she has these huge celebrations. And then Cheryl, so the fourth part of the story, with the third part of the celebrations, fourth part is, what did you learn? What did you learn from your life?
Exactly. What did I learn? Wow. Like a whole
Well, the big thing is the importance of a mentor.
Well, absolutely. Not only that, the importance of a mentor. I learned that you never give up, right? Ever, no matter what. Even if it's so hard that you don't think you can go another minute, well, life goes on. You go on. You keep moving forward. And
what's your favorite analogy, or I always call it an analogy, acronym?
Well, my favorite one is NEGU.
Yeah.
NEGU. Never ever give up. But never ever give up. But another thing that I really learned is that, like you said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But guess what? Every single obstacle can be overcome, right? As long as you don't give up, you can overcome it. You can either go over it, through it, around it, under it, whatever it is. And as you do that, you build that self-confidence to move forward and to get better. And another big thing that I learned, Paul, I could go on and on all day about great things I learned, but another one is the importance of contribution, and that the way you feel the best has nothing to do with the amount of money you make. It has everything to do with the contribution you are willing to give back. And as you're giving that contribution back. Absolutely.
So what Cheryl does when she gets in front of an audience, and she can see her audience is 25 to 35, she's going to say this tell her story in a certain way,
right,
and talk about the things she learned. I learned that having a mentor is invaluable. I learned that, what was it, the thing you just mentioned a second ago? You
never give up.
Never give up.
That you can overcome any obstacle.
Yep. OMS. I love that. Obstacles make me stronger.
Oh, it's the best.
I love that one. So she's talking, as you're talking to this group of people between 25 and 35, you're telling them what you're about to do for them. I'm going to be your mentor. I'm going to help you through these hard times that you're going through. and show you what Dr. Wallach showed me and how to build your own business and be successful. So that's Cheryl's story. That's what she learned. And then the part at the end, when you're talking about what you learned, you're rolling that into your close in that those are also the things you're going to help that audience do.
Right. That's
learn.
interesting, Paul, that you would call it a close.
Well, so what we're doing here is we're talking about last week we talked about getting people to a landing page. And then from the landing page, you got all these email addresses. You're going to be sending them to a webinar or to a live meeting or to a video that you made, or something. So this is where in that video or that webinar or that live event, you're telling your story. It could be sitting at Starbucks telling your story to one person. Sure. But it's and then close, meaning that what are they going to do next? So you're closing. We're always closing our ideal person on what they need to do next to move forward with us. Right. But just I want to go through with Cheryl what our mindset is, so our listeners understand where we're coming from and the mindset that we have going into this. So and this is what you want to do for your avatar. You want to find out that this is going to sound weird, but you have to think about what they're going to think about after they're finished with you. So what I mean by that is
how you want them to feel. You have to figure out how you want them to feel. Right.
At the end.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done. So for us, what we want you to say is that I had this problem, that problem, that problem, that problem. And then I met Cheryl and Paul. Oh my gosh, they're wonderful. They're amazing. They're super funny, educational. I mean, just everything. They have, and they put me on this Elevate Your Life program or this Find a Fabulous program. And it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, but it changed everything for me. And now I blankety blank, blank, blank. I have this amazing life. I got this, I got that, I got that. All those problems I had before are gone. So that's what we have in our minds when we're making these podcasts, when we're out, living life on a daily basis. This is what we're looking for, is what are people going to say about us 5 years from now?
Right. And I think it's so important too, Paul, to remember that, like, I want people to feel like I could be their guide or their mentor.
Yes.
And as they continue along their journey, that is one thing. And I really want to just reiterate that a second, is that it is super, super important for every single person, I believe, to have a mentor. That's the one thing in my life that I can look back and say, that opportunity was given to me. I chose to take the opportunity, right? And I chose to have a mentor, right? And I know you did too, Paul, when you were much younger than I was. I didn't even know that a mentor was important. I'd never even heard of that. I didn't know, right? But now that I do, I think it's one of the most important things that I did in my whole life.
Absolutely. Now, we mentioned that book last week, Story Brand by Donald Miller. If you haven't got it yet, go get it, because he talks about the different characters in every single movie. So every single movie has a hero, and every single movie ever made has a guide. So you always want to be the guide, the person that's guiding them through their problems that they're having now and taking them to the other side. They're the hero. They're the person that took the action, that came to you, and that transformed their life. When people have all these amazing weight loss stories and health stories and financial changes in their lives, it isn't like Cheryl and I did that for them. We guided them, but they did it. They're the hero.
Right. I love that concept.
It's phenomenal. I would make sure everyone understands it, because I think some people out there are thinking, well, I need to be the hero. I need to go save people. That's not how this works. They're the hero. You're the guide. So go watch Luke Skywalker, or go watch Star Wars and
that's
follow
right.
Yoda.
Yeah.
Be Yoda. So to wrap this up, Cheryl, we talked about landing pages last week, and we're going to send you a link here and talk more about Kartra. It's the system that we use, and we're going to help you actually develop landing pages inside of Kartra, but we're going to save that for the next lesson. Then we talked a little bit today about building a webinar or making a video. So when they go to the landing page, now what do I do? Now, you told me to put my name and email address in to find out more information. Well, what's the rest of the information? Mm-hmm. So you got to have that in place. And then from that video, where are you going to send them to next? Are they going to meet with you one-on-one? I know Cheryl, you set up a Calendarly account, and so did I, where after we finish that, they can go schedule an appointment to meet with us.
Mm-hmm.
So something along that, or you could just send them to go buy something that you're selling.
Right.
It all depends on how your funnel, how you want your funnel to be set up. And so you're telling your story, and the story you're formulating and choosing to use is a story that's going to move them to the next step, whatever that next step is for you in your funnel. And Cheryl, the whole goal here is to move people from cold, like people don't even know who they are, to warm, like, hey, Cheryl and Paul are pretty cool, to hot, like where they're raving fans and they just love us. So we're always looking at that funnel and moving people from cold to warm to hot.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so, and like that, right? I mean, from cold, like you're saying, not straight to hot, which it could be fast getting, skimming through warm. But I think it's important that you realize that you need to do the same thing. So you're
Sure.
moving them from cold to warm to, and I love that it's like, to me, it seems like step 1, step 2, step 3. And I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So hopefully this was valuable to all of you. Think about the things we said here, and then we're going to get into more advanced things here in the next couple of weeks. But we will be with you every step of the way to building your business and marketing online, because it's online. I mean, the whole world's online. That the internet's not going anywhere. It's only getting bigger. So you need to master this thing called online marketing, and we're going to help you do that. So awesome job, Cheryl. It was super, super good.
Thank you. Yep.
And everyone keep elevating your life. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.